Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you guys. I hope something that you guys can accept. Okay? And so my first question to you is, what do you think yourself into? What do you think yourself into? I want you to sit down and write 3 things that you think yourself into. When your phone rings, do you say, oh no, more work for me to do? Or yes, that's money calling me. Sometimes we spiral our minds and our thoughts in the wrong direction. How many of you do that? What do you stipulate in your mind that actually doesn't exist in the real world? And that you've already gone through a negative spiral and you haven't even left your house yet. Anticipation of disasters. How many of you do this? If something external is going to happen that is a problem, with a positive mindset, you can then find a solution. With a negative mindset, you're just going to explode the problem. Do we agree? Yeah. 2 different frames of thinking. So do you know that your brain will always justify whatever position you're in? So if you say, oh, I really don't want to deal with them, they give me such a headache, you will walk away from dialing and you will convince yourself 3 to 5 reasons why you should never call Fistballs ever again. And you know what else? You will always be right. You will back up every single evidence for the reason why you're right, even if you're coming from a state of mind that is non-helpful. So I ask you, what do you think yourself into? What about in negotiation? Are you uncertain on your negotiation skills? And so you walk into a negotiation sure the other person will win? What do you think yourself into? I want you to take the time and be honest with yourself. Write down 3 to 4 things that often happen to you. Do you overthink your relationship with your partner, whereby, you got into one little fight and the next thing you know, it's divorce. It's the end of the world.
I'm out.
Right? I'm out. So there's a reason I want to write down 3 things that you think yourself into, because it's usually a pattern. I want us to dig in and find out what they are. So if we're ready, I will now ask you, what do you want to think yourself into? What do you want to think yourself into? Notice the difference. If we believe that thoughts become things and our thoughts materialize in reality, then I ask you, what do you think about? Right? It's the same logic. So for her, she thinks herself into how potentially her relationship is not where she wants it to be with her children, and she's doing all the wrong things, and because she's doing all the wrong things, they're not listening to her, and they're going to be distancing away, and then the day they move out, they're never going to call her again, and all of a sudden we're going down the rabbit hole, right? So now she's conscious.
Yeah.
We just spoke about what she thinks herself into to where she wants to think, right? So now what does she want to think about? She wants to think about the fact that she's an active listener. She wants to think about the fact that she needs to ask more questions. And so that moment that she's with her children, if she gets to a level of consciousness where I'm just here to make things better and better, I need to be an active listener. And guess what? I can only be an active listener if I ask good questions. And I need to not make dinner at the same time and be cleaning the lamp and just sit down and listen. Listen to what the other person actually wants to say. That's called connecting. How many times do we not do that and want to do that? We want it so badly, but we don't do it. So what does she need to do? So she's here and she wants to go here. And she needs to do this road. This is her road. This is her road. If she lives in the present and enjoys the present, she's able to fulfill all her responsibilities. Who's okay with that? Who's okay with just being you, authentically in the moment, and doing what you need to do, and that being okay? Who's okay with that? You see, You can't have a negative way of thinking and be grateful at the same time. It's impossible unless you have two brains, right? I want to think myself into becoming a pro at creating solutions. How about that one? I want to become a pro at creating solutions. How many times are we bombarded with 600 problems at once? If you see them as problems, guess what happens? It's pressure. A feeling of fear. Fear I will not accomplish. Fear that I'm not good enough. Fear that I don't got it. So what if you knew you could survive? You thought yourself in the fact that you could get through anything you put your mind to. So I ask you, what do you want to think of? What do you want to think into? This is what I'm talking about. You want to think yourself into the present, so think yourself into the present. You want to think that you are a pro at creating solutions, then look at the solution and don't look at the problem.